Oh, well, that was quick. Gosh, what happened there? The music just died. Welcome, everybody. This is Pastor Sherman Ray, and this is This Week in Prophecy. Hope everybody's doing well. The music did not die, folks. It just turned down really quick. I just don't understand it. Sometimes it happens. I want to welcome you all to the broadcast today. It is the middle of the month already, you guys. Can you believe that? Already middle of the month, and we are just, they're cooking already. Hopefully everybody's had a great time in the Lord this week. A lot of stuff going on, guys. I mean, a lot of stuff is going on, and we just want to make sure that everybody's doing really well in this. If you're watching us, I'm going to go ahead and turn on our camera here for. No, I'm not going to do it on YouTube yet because it'll mess up my camera here real quick. But if you want to join us on our YouTube channel, folks, go ahead and go to This Week in Prophecy. That's This Week in Prophecy, and I'm going to go there right now, you guys. So if you would like to go there and you'd like to get in on the conversation, definitely do that, guys. Get in on the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. Hope that everybody's doing really well. If you'd like to just write to us, you can just write to us at thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. It's thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. And yes, folks, somebody was asking about this earlier. They said, hey, are you guys up on Godstream yet? And yes, it's all up on Godstream already. And just go to Godstream, and it'll say Godstream TV. There's a pull down, and it'll say This Week in Prophecy. So all you've got to do is check that out, and you can see all of the season 1, season 2, and I think season 3 is going to be up in just a little bit. But we'd love for you to get in on the conversation here with us on our YouTube channel, and that would be great. Okay. Anyways, well, what would a show be without Aaron Newton? Aaron, how are you doing today, brother?
Hello, I'm good. I'm good. It's hot. It is so hot, but I'm good.
It is definitely hot. There's no doubt about it. It's hot and smoky.
My goodness.
Are you guys? Because you're near the lake, where you're on your side of town. Are you anywhere? Are you getting any of that smoke from like Grand Canyon?
I can smell it. It smells like wood burning. It doesn't seem too hazy, but yeah, I could definitely smell it.
Yeah, it's definitely in there in the air. So, well, good. So how's your week been going so far? Everything been going well, I hope.
Yeah, everything's good. Only Tuesday. I don't really give an opinion at least till Thursday, whether it's a thumbs up or not.
A thumbs up or thumbs down. Well, I'll tell you, I think it's been a great week. I really do. There's been some fantastic. So something good is going to happen when a lot of bad stuff is going on. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of bad stuff is going on. So God has got something good. He's going to be cooking up something good, and I'm looking for it. What's going on? To something good. Some people might have noticed that we're actually doing the show a little later today. So we're a little bit later today. I had to go run and do an errand before the show started. So we want to apologize to everybody, but fear not, we're here and should be cool. How's the lovely Miss Cecilia?
She's good. She just kind of came a little obsessed with the pool lately, but it's actually working out for everybody else. So I think we need a new pool guy because she doesn't seem happy with him, and so she bought like this little Roomba for the pool to skim the top, and it's the same thing as a Roomba. It just hits the wall, and turns around and backs around, and it skims the pool, and then one that goes underneath, and the water is just immaculate right now. It's really nice.
So was she not excited about that, or does she just wants a new pool guy?
Yeah, I think I just don't think he's doing a good job. When he was here and she's complaining to him like it looks cloudy. Oh, well, we got to drain it and clean it and fill it, and he did that and it did nothing. So I think a new pool guy is in my future. So
so that guy's probably thinking, he's thinking probably this is going to be a short gig with these folks. Well,
yeah.
Well, before we get on to some of the stuff the Lord's been speaking to you about, though, some things have been going on has the Lord you've been keeping up on anything that's going on in Israel or anything like that?
What do you mean? Which part?
Yeah, because Israel has been so the last couple of weeks. Here's the crazy thing about it, is many of you, if you've been watching the show for any length of time, you probably got in on the I don't know some of the news about what's going on in Gaza and stuff like that. Really, nothing is going on in Israel right now. I mean, this is kind of a scary thing,
Oh yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah.
President Trump, you know, orchestrated a ceasefire, and then you hear nothing. But here's the thing about it: you did hear about this cleric. Did you hear about this cleric in
No.
Gaza? They've put out a fatwa on
Yes.
President Trump. It's like a $40 million bounty on his head. And I'm thinking to myself, what world are we living in? where a religious leader in some other country says, you know what, I think I don't like your president, so we're gonna mobilize every Muslim on the planet to take a shot at you. And people are saying, hey, they're raising money for it, and people are getting excited about this. Is that crazy or what?
Yeah, it's crazy. They should be raising money to rebuild their nation. Instead, they're worried about Trump. That to me is nuts. You got starving people there, and they want to spend the money on killing Trump. It's not going to happen. But you know,
And here's the funny thing about Aaron is that this same thing was going on, and I've not heard anybody say anything about Trump. And remember that there was basically a hit put out on him. I was reading an article about this where 10 days before he went to Butler, Pennsylvania, that there was a credible alert that said that there was going to be something going on. Now this was a year ago, so this weekend was actually the anniversary of it. But they said
Right.
10 days before he actually went to Butler, Pennsylvania for this rally, there was chatter that was credible that said somebody was going to take a shot at him, and they never told him about it. And they've known that people are after him. That especially specifically Iran has been after President Trump for quite a while now. And now there's not even they're not even leaving any gray space now. This cleric goes, everybody around the world, fatwa on this guy, and so President Trump. Here's the funny thing about it, President Trump is not worried at all. I think once he got that bullet by his ear, and he survived, he has no fear in him at all.
Yes. No fear. He will make decisions. Oh my goodness. That's so awesome. That's a Kim Clement prophecy
Oh, really?
about a president he will have no fear. He will make decisions. And yeah, yeah.
So go on. So
So
what do you say? What
oh,
Kim Clement?
I have to look it up. I just
Yeah.
remember that part of it. I can't quote the whole thing to you. I'm not that verse in it, but he did. I remember he's talking about a president. He's gonna put somebody in the seat, and he will have no fear, and he will make decisions. That's all I remember. But like, he's just Trump. I mean, that's what he's talking about. he's, he's talking about Trump the way he is.
Trump is a unique individual. I mean, there's nobody been like him before. Nobody's ever been like him, where he's come into office and he's changed the whole thing, with respect to how presidents do things. Most presidents, they put their finger up and which way the wind's blowing, take a poll or something like this. This guy is not like that at all. As a matter of fact, he tells you the wind's blowing that way. Right now, right? He's blowing the wind. He is the wind, man. Oh, that's prophetic, isn't it? That's prophetic, isn't
God's
it?
voice.
Come on,
God's
guys.
voice is in the wind.
That is pretty good right there. And so he's a unique individual in history, but he even became more unique once a year ago, once his life was almost taken from him. And he's a changed man now, because now, before, I mean, he was always what I believe, at least people who are conservatives, what they believe is a fairly straightforward guy. But now he's like a man on a mission.
Yeah, yeah, he's definitely that. I think the first time he got in, he trusted people who are around him because, they work for the government. They're Americans. They love the country, obviously, or they wouldn't be there. But really, I mean, we can see over and over and over impeachment for this, and they were listening to his phone call. We're gonna impeach him what he said, and you got people like Adam Schiff, who's saying, well, we can't see the fire yet, but there's a lot of smoke around him. It's like they were just there to cause problems. This time, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my people in, which is, I remember the last time they were complaining because he fired somebody. Oh, he can't just fire people like that. They're government employees. And yeah, this time he don't care. You're out. You're out.
Oh yeah, and that's probably, it's like what did they say? A wolf is dangerous when he's hurt. Right? When he's hurt, then you don't, if he's not hurt, then you really, you can probably mess with him. But when he's hurt, that's probably when he's more dangerous. And now President Trump has had it 4 years, and I think you mentioned this before, is that it was probably the best thing for him to not get into office back to back terms, because now he's a lot more seasoned. He knows a lot more. He understands a lot more of what's going on, and then on top of it all, now he feels like he has a mandate, a Holy Ghost mandate
Yeah.
to save the country. And it, it's funny. Now you've probably experienced this in your life before too. Is that with your knowledge of mechanics, blah blah blah. Okay, how would your outlook on life be if you went into a mechanic shop with $1 million worth of tools, every tool you could ever imagine, I mean, how would your whole outlook on life be? You'd probably be a little bit more like, I can do anything I want, and doggone
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
And let me add this to you now. You got the smartest people in the world working for you.
Mm.
Now all of a sudden you go, you guys are gonna love this. Let's do anything we want, and we can make. That's where Trump is right now, because he keeps saying this all the time. He goes, you know what? I got this all-star lineup of guys. I got all the money in the world to work with, and I've got the greatest country in the world that I get to make even better. And so I really feel like he is a unique and probably one of the best people. I hope that this works out this way, anyways. My prayer is that he becomes the most successful president in U.S. history.
You know what? Man, I don't know why this is, and I'll just say this because this is what we're talking about. But whenever I'm in the shower, or like I always like, gosh, he really speaks to me there. And so I was today, like, just I got home from work and it's hot, so I was taking like a cold shower, just kind of cool off. Anyways, so I was thinking, I was reminded about this vision where I remember the one I told you where those people were sticking their hand and they're in the stream of colors, and they were sticking their hand in it, and it was just like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and somebody else. And I thought, like, what is he showing me? Like, I get it, he's changing things or something. God was making every single thing that Joe Biden tried to do fail, to let people know that his hand was in everything. So, like, I can't think of one thing that he did where it was like, oh, wow, this was great for the country. It was failure after failure after failure after failure. So now we're seeing Trump come up and things are getting, oh, he's going to ruin the economy. Nope. Economy's doing great. Nope. He's going to drive the price of silver and gold down. Nope. Silver and gold is doing great. Um, it's like a boxing match, right? For the last 4 years, first Trump came out in his 4 years and he was just tiring him out, right? He's got his hands up and he's blocking. And then the last 4 years, he took a little bit of a beating, right? Like, indictment, this, impeachment. Okay. So now what happens when somebody just throws punches the whole time? They're exposed, right? So they got their arm out, their body's exposed, and now he's coming in with coming in with the rabbit punches, right? The kidney punches, and it's like it's so like you see it unfolding before your eyes. They hated him. They try to make him look bad. A lot of people fall for it. The next one, oh, he's the greatest. Nope, everything's fail. And then here he comes. He's back again, and they just started right in, and he was like, "Nope, you're out. Quiet." And it's like you see that, and now they're just kind of I don't know what to say because they're exposed. They exposed themselves in the last 4 years of all these things they were doing. I'm telling you, I'm telling you the truth. Oh man,
Isn't that
last week
amazing?
our show last week was it was really God was like, look, here's what's happening. There's going to be treason. There's going to be this. There's going to be that. Oh, it was amazing.
I believe it. I believe it too. You know, there's a lot of stuff. Just like you said, everything Joe Biden's touched turned. You know, the word talks about it. It says, you know, when those who are in power are not good folks, when they get into power, people mourn. But when God's people get into power, people rejoice.
Hmm.
Except for those people who want the world to mourn. Right? If you want the world to mourn, they're groaning not because the world is going great. It's because they're not in power to make it go great,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't know how to do it. They just don't know how to do it. So it's a very interesting thing. Well, let's get into it, man, because I don't want to take up all the time talking about the president, even though this has been a remarkable week. So I'm very excited about it. But the Lord gave
Yeah, it
you,
has. Really, really
yeah,
has.
the Lord gave you a couple of visions for this week, and let's throw them around a little bit and see what the Lord has to say.
Yeah. So this first one was from March 12th of 2025. And the first, it was like two dreams together. And the first part, I haven't really got a word or understanding about it, but I'll read it anyways because it was all, one dream. And so maybe, I don't know, some insight can come about from it. But I was somewhere in Pasadena, which, in case anybody knows, that's where the Rose Bowl is. It's close to where I grew up. I'm not I was somewhere in Pasadena and I was at a gas station. And next to the gas station was a store and it was Altel Cellular. And I remember thinking like this is important. I need to remember this. So it could be just something to watch out for, I guess. There was two men, they were twins, and I was showing them how to use aluminum foil to clean pots and pans. So this to me is kind of I don't really understand like that part of it. There's a kind of a lot of things, but I knew that Alltel was important, and I was showing them how to wash or pans, pots and pans with aluminum foil to scrub the dirt off. And I was in Pasadena, so we'll just kind of shelf that for a little bit. But since it was part of the dream, we'll talk about it. The second part of the dream, I was in a church that's here in Vegas. It was completely full of people, so there was rows of seats, but not only was there these rows of seats, there was bleachers on the side because so many people were in there. um so they had made bleachers around the stage, and when the pastor was talking, people were cheering and clapping, and I went in and sat down, and he came up to me and he started talking to me. But as soon as he started talking to me, all these people started coming at me like, why are you here? You're not supposed to be here. You did bad things here. You should leave. And I asked them, and something I want to mention is they were all young people. They were all very young, like let's almost say immature, I guess you could say. So they said, telling me that you should leave because of what you did. And so I said, what did I do? Well, you stole, you never, um, you stole. And I said, I never did any of these things. Why don't you just ask me questions and I'll tell you the truth? But the truth but they don't want to hear it. They don't care. They just wanted to believe whatever he said. So as just kind of meditating and praying, this part was this is a bigger picture of you know I heard something today. It was really amazing, and it was somebody talking about the um Jesus movement or any other movement of God. There was at the time, there was pastors, evangelists, and teachers. But there was never any prophets or apostles. Maybe there was a few people, but it wasn't like it is today. There wasn't people like doing what we're doing here. Um, you know, and so I believe that he was showing me that, look, uh, there is uh a lot of people don't care what about what prophets have to say because they're just listening to the pastor. Whatever the pastor says, they'll go with. But yet God is raising up his people, the people that he wants to speak for them, to get people to become united, right? To like unity. I think about it like this. We look at the stories of the old Bible, of the Old Testament, like um Moses and leading them out of Egypt. God destroyed a nation in one day for his people to be free. Why wouldn't we think that he would do that for us in a way that where people can unify and become one? Now the people grumbled because they had lived in they lived in bondage for so long. That's all they knew was bondage. And so when I'm just meditating on this, what does this mean? You had all these people watching somebody who wasn't great and lying to them, and they're just eating it up because they thought, well, this is the way it's supposed to be. But what he's saying is things are going to change, and I'm going to do it. We had discussed something, you know, young people, even though maybe they weren't all young people, they were just immature because they weren't learning for themselves. They were just taking whatever that man said as gospel, but he was lying to them. So, I mean, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. And a couple of things, though, uh, is that because one of the themes that seems to, or maybe it's just something the Lord spoke to me, was when you said the word unity, talking about unity of the church, and how in these last days, or in this time period that we're in, that are we going to see the next great awakening? Because that was one of the things I kept thinking, is that is there going to be the next great wave of God's move, in the land? Hope I'm making sense, but I believe there is going to be, and yet I believe that the word also says that there's going to come a, a I don't know, a cadre of leaders that are going to come along, and they're going to start teaching stuff to people to tickle their ears.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, what happens is when people are young, they're immature, they're going to go, "Yeah, that sounds great, man! Woohoo!" It's almost like that TikTok guy, the influencer, right? Yeah, I got the new TikTok influencer, and you got to be wary of that. We've just got to be wary of that because, yeah, they got a great message. The message is, guess what, guys? Guess what? Everybody just follow me and everything else like that. And yet, there's always that caveat. There's always that you've got to keep one eye open, saying, who is this guy? And the reason why I say this is because something happened to me just recently, and it keeps happening over and over again. Is that at least in my church, I try to tell my folks, look, guys, my job is to raise you up to do what I do. Okay, to do the ministry. Your job is to go out and to pray for people. Your job is to go out and go to the hospitals. Your job is to do this and that. I'm only one guy, right? So I'm only one guy who can only do one thing at a time, as you saw today, because we were late getting started today. And so my job is to teach you guys how to do this. I teach you how to pray. I teach you how to do this, that, and the other thing. So my job is not to sit there and do everything. But I have people who keep going, well, they bring people up to me to pray. And I go, well, why did you come up here to me to pray when you're just as capable as I am to pray? You know? Or they call me on the phone. They go, well, can you talk to this person? I go, wait a minute. That is your person. Uh-oh. I think I just lost Aaron for just a second. I'm going to keep talking. Maybe I can get him back. Um, okay. Yeah, and as I was saying, yeah, I've got people who come up to me all the time and they say, hey, can you pray for me or pray for this person? And I go, well, why did you come up to me? Why didn't you just pray with them? And I think that's the issue we have with people in the body is that we rely too much on the pastors, and it's not as though pastors don't have their place because I'm you know, you think it'd be counterintuitive of me to say, hey, you don't need a pastor because you do, but when it gets to a point where you're relying on the pastor to do everything, then I think that that can be a problem. So that's kind of what I was seeing in this dream that you were saying, is that um, yeah, there can be a danger in this. Ken, I know there's more to it, but you go ahead and you kind of finish off what you were thinking about.
You're 100% correct. The pastor, his job, I mean, the pastor, his duty is to tend to the sheep, right? And that's, but the thing is that this position has elevated so much that where people don't know what to do if the pastor doesn't tell them, which, anyways, the point is we all have a role to play. And when we discount roles for elevated positions, it suffers. We all suffer. We all suffer because we're supposed to be in unity, work together, and it just, anyways, that's just what I saw in that one. It was,
And to be just fair on the whole thing is that unfortunately what happens is that you've got over the years because of false prophets, because of people who are abusing the position, any number of
sure.
things. What happened is, prophets fell out of favor. I mean, they just fell out of favor with the body. They fell out of favor with the community. As a matter of fact, it used to be like a running joke. Oh, so here comes another prophet. Oh yeah, here's another prophet. Oh, you're a prophet, I bet you. Oh yeah, because they walk around, they're going, I'm a prophet. And you go, well,
Mm.
usually if you've got a prophetic mantle on you, people will recognize that. You don't have to go around telling everybody that you're the prophet, right? and
I,
and
that's
that can be a
100%
problem.
correct.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's 100% correct. My name is Aaron. Okay, that's call me Aaron. I went to a church, and there was a lot of prophetic people there, but I kept seeing these misses, like, uh, hey, tell me a dream. So I would tell them a dream, and then all these people would come up to me with, here's what God said about your dream. Okay, well, that's not even the dream. So that's not even what I said, and you go to a place and I'm the prophet of the house and you better fall in line, like, okay, it's time for me to go, because that's not my role. Is to be you. My role is to be Aaron, but listen to God. And we all, even in this prophetic way, we all hear differently. My dreams, contain boats a lot, or veterans, and we'll talk about that in a minute, because this is what I know, right? But yet it's the same story as this other man over here that's prophesying about the same exact thing, but his is something that relates to him that he can understand. We have come to this where we're going to take prophecy and just take every single syllable in the Bible and dissect it, and then you ask somebody who doesn't even believe in those things are happening, and they're saying, well, it's the word of God. Okay, well, how did God speak to them? Well, it's the word of God, it's infallible. Okay, but how did he speak to them? And they don't know because it doesn't happen to them. So stay in your lane and don't discount other people who this happens to.
Sure, sure, it
As
happens,
like,
right?
I don't ask anybody for anything, right? But in the Bible it says, Elisha went to this woman was about to make cakes, and there was one more cake, and then me and my children are gonna die. And he's like, all right, you know what? Before you make that cake, make one for me. So she did. And forever on, she was the jars never ran dry. People don't make a room for the prophet in their house. They don't care. But it's not like I'm asking for it. It's up to you and God to decide, you know what, I'm going to make some room for this person or that person or whoever it is, the apostle, same thing with an apostle. It's just pushed aside because the during the 60s, this position of pastor was elevated to the primary role of the church, and all they did was feed sheep, and they didn't their goal was to make sheep happy, not advance the kingdom of God. you know that that becomes a problem.
Yeah, that
It
I
doesn't.
think it definitely has, and that and unfortunately that is kind of the we limp along as a church. We limp along as a body because we're not. I mean, there's any number of gifts in any number of parts of the body that we just don't acknowledge anymore, and that's a problem. You know, are we a
Yeah.
you know and now we're seeing a manifestation of it. Now we're seeing the outcome
Yeah.
of it, right? You're seeing a society that is going, who's leading this thing, and who, and we've talked about this, a few times, um, that America was going in this direction for so many years, from its founding. It's evangelizing, it's talking about the Lord, and then at some point they went like this, and went, and it started going this way, right? And it just starts going this way, and now you've got people saying, "Hey, guess what? I think I'm a fish," right? My daughter and I we were driving my daughter home here a little while ago, and she was saying that there's a guy, he's 50 years old. He believes that his truth, okay,
Mm.
his truth. I know this. I don't even want to go in the whole thing, but when you get to a point where you say this is my truth, you got a
Mm.
problem. There's a problem, right? There was a time
Yeah.
when if somebody said this is my truth, they would say let's get the straight jacket for this guy because he's nuts. Okay, there's only one truth. You don't have a truth that's any different than anybody else's truth. There's only one truth, and that's found in this Bible. And unfortunately, the church has become has lost so many body parts. Okay, in the spiritual realm, I say this: we've lost so many body parts that make
Mm.
the body, that now we have a society that's kind of gone sideways.
Well, I was it last week I talked about the dream where I'd went to different church services in a park. I think it was last week, right? We I went to all these different church services, and the last one I went to was a Catholic service for veterans, right? And I got a really good revelation today about that, because I'm like trying to understand, like, why was there all different Catholic, Protestant, whatever? Why was it so there? And he was showing me that it's a church without walls. Okay, because it was just there was no walls. It was a park, and then the Catholic one had like this rug laid out, and there was an altar and a priest, and then the Baptist one was, like there was just a pulpit and this. And he was telling me it's a church without walls. We're not confined in our own Catholic, Protestant, whatever. It was a church without walls. I thought, wow, that was really, I didn't understand that until today. So I think that these things are coming faster. And I'm we talk about on the show, but he reveals a little bit, and then later, like, yeah, see, that was good, okay, now that's what this means. So
Yeah, and I love the thought of a church without walls, because there's actually a church called that. There's actually a a church that's called Church Without Walls, but they got it. I mean, they've gotten it. You know, when we start boxing God in and saying He can only do this, He can only do that, He
mm,
has to have this person or He has to have that person. Okay? No, God doesn't. He doesn't need any of you. He doesn't need any of us, right? He chooses to gift us in these areas and chooses to work with us to do what He wants to do. But God doesn't need any of that stuff. Okay, I think He doesn't make us feel good. Okay, does He really need a pastor? Does He need a prophet? Does He need an evangelist? Does He? No, He doesn't need any of that stuff. Okay, but I think it makes us feel better that He's doing that. But when we start putting God in a box, and we start saying, God, you can only do it if this is happening, and your miracle power can only work, if a pastor comes by and pastor goes, okay, I'm putting my royal stamp on it. And that's what drives me. I find myself doing more and more teachings about that now, is saying, don't do this. Okay, I don't have to be there, guys. I really don't. Okay, as a matter of fact, there's one pastor. He says, if you actually see me at such a certain thing, he goes, I've probably not done my job, because right, because he's
Hmm.
not raised. He's got like 1,000 people at his church. Why hasn't he raised somebody up to do that?
Well, that's a good thing. People want to make, I get wanting to make sure that you haven't got that pastoral care. I get it, but you're supposed to bring people along with you. It's not all about you. We had talked about that, how I get the feeling and of wanting to guard, right? And this is a normal thing. You're supposed to guard, to help the sheep, feed the sheep, protect the sheep. But when we've taken it so far that it's my sheep, right? My church, I built this kingdom. This is the problem for God, okay? Because if I was saying to you earlier, like when you started Sagestone, you said, I'm going to call all these other pastors and see if we can come together in some kind of thing. And one agreed, which is Tommy, is on the Christ and Culture. And so I thought, that was really admirable of Sherman to do that. But then, when you look at the Bible, you have seven churches, and it's not the Baptist Church of Ephesus with the Catholic Church. It is the Church of Ephesus. And you're seeing 5,000 people being delivered in one day. You think all 5,000 people went to the same Sunday service? I don't think so. I think there was many churches, but it was the church of Ephesus. It was the church of Laodicea. Even though there was thousands of people at Laodicea that were Christians, it was one church, one body. Like this is the problem I see, is that I told you about a dream where I was standing on the hill and I was dressed as a Civil War soldier, and I'm trying to tell this man, this general, it's time to take the city. It's time to go, and he's just like, I'm like, God's telling you it's time to go, and he's kind of like hesitant. And I realized with this, what we're talking about is that what he was saying, I want a church of Las Vegas. I don't want 50 million churches. And then you have one church that's big, and they're not propping up the little churches to help because, well, this is my church, I'm successful. When the goal of a church is how many people they're running, is the vision of their success, you've failed. And
Sure.
i'm
Oh yeah.
I keep saying I think, but now I'm supposed to say, this is what God is saying. I know what he's saying is that he is going to unify the body. And whether that's 50 people, 5,000 people, 10,000 people, it doesn't matter. He's going to do it because, like I said, you know, you see God in many instances destroy a nation in a day. Why don't we think he could do that for us? That's belief, having belief in God, right? So it's I know that this is what's coming. However it looks, we've seen in the last year how many people who were not repentant of the things they done be brought to the light. And it's like every week somebody new. Now the time where people get comfortable in their kingdom, God will start pushing them out, putting new people in place, because he wants the people who are going to obey, not worry about their kingdom. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Sure. And
And this is what's
you
coming.
know, yeah. Well, we will see that when won't it be a glorious day when you see everybody going, yep, we're all together. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, we will. So what else? What else has the Lord been speaking to you about?
Um so
We just
here's the
actually
second one.
yeah, we just got a
What's
couple more
that?
minutes left too. So
Okay. So
cool.
this is the second one, and
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna in my dream he revealed to me today that where it says veterans, it's
Yeah.
actually prophets.
Prophets.
So this is the 23rd of May, 25. I
Yeah.
dreamt that I went to a party for veterans, and you had to wear a uniform. Since mine was an army uniform, because I was in the army, you could see the different on the ribbons and awards. I was also in the Navy, so you could see on mine was very different from other army people, because my time in the Navy. And they were giving each one of these veterans a piece of land. And I was watching a commercial about another veteran, and the lady was talking about him. He was walking into the party wearing his uniform, and he said, when people see you, they know that you are a veteran and that you also own a piece of land. And so with this, I'm thinking like, oh, okay, God's gonna give me a house, or whatever it is. He loves, the Bible says, there's no greater love for a man who would lay down his life for his brother, right? And I'm thinking like, oh yeah, God has a special love for veterans. And today he said, change veteran to prophet. And so just like we were talking about with the Church of Vegas, right? So I'm at this group of prophets, and I have like the glory on me. It's not even a uniform, it's the glory. And when you walk into the room, people can see the glory. They know, because, the knowledge of the glory will be throughout the earth. That's what I'm waiting to see. When everybody can say, I saw God's glory, that's when, there will be one church. But, anyways, um, and so I'm watching another prophet, and he's saying, when you walk into a room, everybody's going to know because of the uniform you wear, which is the glory of God, but also the land. Just like I was talking about that dream just a couple minutes ago, where I was overlooking Vegas, and I'm wearing a Civil War uniform, like an officer, but I knew the man next to me was a general. And I'm I'm his advisor. I'm not a soldier, right? I'm not supposed to run down and lead the troops. My job is to tell him when God speaks to him and when not, and when to take the land and when not to take the land. And in this dream, I'm got all the veterans are getting a piece of land. So you have prophets all over the nation. You have some in Alabama, you have some in New York, some in California, some here, some here. This is that land. I put my foot on this land, and I'm doing what God asked me to do in this area. So, anyways, with that, just before I sent it to you, I was kind of praying about or just what do you want me to say today? And these two dreams, they're connected, obviously, in a way, um where you I went to one place and they're pushing me out, but yet I'm trying to do the right thing and go there and speak what God wants. And then this one where, look, don't worry about it, people will see it, it will get easier, kind of thing. Because when you tell people that God speaks to you, a lot of people don't like you. it's it's not an easy thing. So, anyways, I thought this was really,
Wow.
really.
So, Aaron, let me interject something, because there's a couple of parts of this that are speaking to me, in this dream. A couple of words that you were saying that, um, because here's the thing about it is, when you first sent this to me, because I have the original that you sent to me, and it said
Mhm.
veteran, and then you said the Lord told you to that that you need to change that word to a prophet, and
Mhm.
and I'm thinking, you could it could be changed into a somebody who's a part of the body, that you had to wear a uniform. So there's a couple of things, and you just connect the dots, however it speaks to you. Um, that that you had to wear a uniform, and what is a uniform? What is a uniform? What does it signify? Well, I think the biggest thing that a uniform signifies is that you're part of something greater, something you're part of a unit. Okay, could be, you could be a uniform of dishwashers, whatever, but that shows everybody who you are. That's what you're supposed to wear, that you had to wear it. You didn't say you chose to wear it, you said I had to wear it. That
Mhm.
I had to wear a uniform, which means this is something you needed to put on to signify who you are. Okay, and then you had a couple of them. So you said one was the Navy, one was the Army, so you decided one of them, that you were going to choose one of them. But here's another thing that was saying that the Lord gave you land. And what is land? And I think you mentioned this, that it was territory, that it was a spot that the Lord gave you to as your inheritance, or something that you were to maintain. It was your territory or whatever it is. And those are the kind of things, I don't know where that's going to go from there, to tell you the truth, but those are words that kind of stick out, that the Lord is speaking, saying, hey, look, there's a mantle, or there's a uniform. I added the word mantle.
Yeah, that's
that,
right.
that you need to put on, that you need to
Mhm.
wear. Okay, and I don't think this is specific to prophets. I think this is specific to people who are going to be a part of the unit that the Lord is speaking to. Now, this might be somebody who's hearing this right now, and they're going, well, I don't have a prophetic, bent. Okay, I don't have that gifting. Okay, well, the Lord might be speaking to you as a part of the body, though. Are you putting on that uniform? Are you putting on this thing that distinguishes you from everybody else? Okay, because you haven't put it on. You've been walking around looking like everybody else, right? You need to put this on. I don't know why you might have worn the Army, you might have worn the Navy. That's not what he's talking about. Okay, he's talking about a whole different uniform that you're supposed to put on, because he's giving you also land, because you mentioned the land part, and I thought, that the Lord's given us all territory. Remember, it says in Ephesians, it says, guess what, that he's given us land that we're supposed to maintain. So that's kind of where that's what's speaking to me in this.
Yeah, I will say this. There was another dream I had, just real quick, where I had to go a meeting. It was a meeting for veterans, and I was sitting in this room in a circle, and there was a man who was the leader, and he had this crown, and it looked like antlers. And I remember I had to remember the crown. So when, I know what he said. He said, make sure, like for me, right? This, you change veterans in that dream where I was in this meeting, and I thought for a long time, like, this is kind of not good, like a crown of antlers. I'm thinking like pagan stuff. But he said that is not antlers, they're they're thorns. And I was like, oh, okay. Like they were thorns. Jesus is leading it, and what he says is, here it is. So I knew he said that, like with the other dreams, they're all pieces of the puzzle. With the dream where I'm on the horse looking at, he's like, it's time to take the land, as this is where the Church of Las Vegas is going to be. And when I say Church of Las Vegas, I don't mean one church, I mean the body of Christ. Whoever falls in line with what he says is what's going to happen, and the rest will be pushed out. That's just what he wants to do. It doesn't mean that they're not saved, or they're not, think about this, right? God said, in order to follow me, you have to give up your life. And that means, like, change life to self. But also, all these 12 men who decided to follow him were all martyred. And we know that some people will be martyred for God. So in your mind, don't just sometimes you have to put that in the back of your mind, that you will be hated, you will not be liked, you will be, um some people will be martyred, but it doesn't mean that they're not loved by God, that they're not saved. It just means that a remnant of people is the people that he chose. The 7,000 left in the cave out of the entire nation of Israel, that's the remnant.
That's just the remnant. Sure. Yeah. Very interesting too. We've just got about one more minute left, but I really feel like the Lord's been speaking to the body lately. He's really been speaking to the body lately, saying, "Look, guys, we've gone through a couple of years where we've seen what things could be, and they're going to get worse. But guys, you still have a chance. We still have time to to speak to those people who are still on the fence. Because there's a lot of people out there on the fence. They're not sure. But guess what? As my granddaughter came over a couple of days ago, and she brought with her, and I probably mentioned this to you, and she brought over her boyfriend and a couple of his friends and stuff like that. And my wife went outside with her, so I was in with the boys, and the first thing they do, they ask my opinion about everything. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about this? These are 20-year-old kids, 18, 20-year-old kids. Those are the kids that are on the fence. But guess what? They're not unique. I believe you've got a whole generation of kids that have come through a lot of stuff over the last few years, and they're thinking, you know what? The guys before me, I don't know what they're into, but we don't drink, we don't smoke, we don't party. We know something is going on. We want to know what's going on. And so, I think that there's good days ahead for the church, but we gotta put on our uniform, man. We gotta put on our uniform. We gotta maintain that land we've been given, and not give it up. And we just cannot give it up, because if we do, guess what? This next generation, it's gonna go just the way the other went before it. It's just gonna be forgotten. It's just gonna go by. So that's my story.
Yeah, we don't want to lose ground. You got to keep moving forward, right? It's the same. I understand exactly. My sons are just the same way. They want my opinion. They don't drink. They don't do anything, And it's like Alex is 16. He wants to work while he's here. That's all he wants. I want to go to work. I want to learn. And it's like you see this generation. I don't see a church. I see the glory falling, but it falling on people in the store, in the, like, yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be real good.
He's so cool. Well, Aaron, we thank you so much for being part of the broadcast today, brother. Once again, you know what? It's been a blast. Just been a blast, man. And folks, if you want to send us a note, go ahead and send it to thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. It's thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. And you can also check it out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on Godstream TV. Aaron, once again, brother, we will see you again next week, okay?
All right.
All right, brother. We'll see you later. Hey, and folks, you have a wonderful day in the Lord. We will see you guys again next week for more of This Week in Prophecy. It's been Pastor Sherman. You guys take it easy. Bye-bye.